Hello, welcome back. We are going to go over the lesson for today. If you did not do Monday/Tuesday's lesson, stop, go back, do that lesson first because in that lesson you get to read the speech. I read it as well. You can either read along or you can fast forward and read it on your own. And you answer 5 comprehension questions over the JFK speech. You really can't continue until you have done that. So go back, do that now, and then immediately come back over and watch this video. So today's video is going to be faster than last time's video. The video from Monday, Tuesday was 30 minutes, but over half of that was me reading the speech. And today's video will hopefully be much shorter. So number 1, take attendance for today. So go ahead and stop, hit pause, go and take your attendance. Number 2, view video lesson. That's what you're doing right now. Number 3, the slideshow from this video, there's going to be a slideshow that we're going through, is attached for easy access. So after you watch this video, if you want to go back and look at the slideshow that we're going to be going over, it's right here. Complete today's assignment, JFK rhetorical device hunt. We'll look at that after our lesson. And this rhetorical device hunt is due Thursday at 7 p.m. Now, when we were doing Reader's Workshop, those lessons were due on Fridays at 7 p.m. We're not doing Reader's Workshop anymore. So we have gone back to the traditional Thursday 7 p.m. deadline. So today's assignment, the Wednesday, Thursday assignment is due Thursday at 7 p.m. So let's go ahead and open up our lesson and see what's happening. So just as a reminder, last class period, we read JFK's first inaugural address and oh, look, my shirt matches. And in the address, we looked at the address for rhetoric, and then we just answered some comprehension questions. So JFK's first presidential speech takes place during the Cold War, and he uses a lot of rhetorical devices in his speech to persuade the Americans at the time to be on his side during this Cold War crisis. So we're going to be looking at 5 different rhetorical devices that he uses a lot to persuade Americans to join his cause. Now, these are all subtle. An American would listen to his speech and it wouldn't immediately register, oh, that's a rhetorical device. But it is so pleasing to the ear and so logical to the brain that it does help persuade. That's just the art of rhetoric. So let's look at some of those rhetorical devices and how he uses them. JFK rhetorical device hunt. That's what we're doing today. Last class period, we already talked about that. This class period, we are looking for examples of rhetorical devices in the speech. There are dozens of devices in the speech, and if we were in person, you would be doing a much heavier workload because we'd be together. But because you're at home, I picked the 5 that I know you'll be able to do on your own. Your assignment is to complete, this is not a link, it's just underlined, complete JFK address rhetorical device hunt by Thursday at 7 p.m. So I am going to give you 5 examples of each device, and then you are going to find your own in the same speech, and you're going to record those. The first device is basic. It's one that you are very familiar with. It is alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of the same sound, beginning several words in a sequence. Now, the reason that alliteration is used, there's really not a good place to put my face. We'll put it up there. The reason that alliteration is used is because the effect it creates is a poetic rhythm and focuses the reader's attention. Alliteration sounds good. When your speech sounds good, people listen. It's like listening to nice music. So alliteration is used because of the poetic rhythm. So here's an example of alliteration. Man holds in his mortal hands. And I cited it. That's from paragraph 3. MMHH. You will see alliteration littered throughout his whole speech. Our second example, allusion. We talked about illusions a lot during Most Dangerous Game and Lord of the Flies. There are many types of illusions, but the ones that we looked at the most were biblical, historical, cultural, and literary. Biblical, historical, cultural, and literary are the 4 types of illusions that we looked at the most. And in JFK's speech, you will find some historical allusions, but you will also find some biblical allusions. So let's look at, oh, you know what? That list is right here. Look at me. So you can read it, biblical, literary, historical, and cultural. So let's look at an example of an allusion that I was able to pull from his first inaugural address. The same solemn oath that our forebears prescribed nearly a century and 3/4 ago, when the first president was elected. So when George Washington was elected president, his panel of people helped create, I don't know if that would be the Senate or the Congress, but they helped create the presidential oath. And so as JFK is about to take his oath for the first time, he has a historical allusion to when this happened the first time. This alludes to the presidential oath that the first president took. And I cited that. That's in paragraph 2. The effect, the rhetorical effect of using this particular allusion is that it adds to the author's credibility, which is ethos. So you see how these things connect? These rhetorical devices are persuading the audience in these subconscious ways. But it was very conscious on the part of his speechwriters. Anaphora. You might have had a teacher before who pronounced this anaphora. It does not matter. Tomato, tomato. I pronounce it anaphora, but it doesn't matter to me at all. So anaphora is a type of repetition that begins at the beginning of successive phrases or clauses. So when you have repetition that starts off phrases in the same way or clauses in the same way, and it's really pleasing to the ear, that's called anaphora. So the effect of anaphora, it allows the listener or reader to participate in the discussion because the reader thinks they know what's going to come next. They know that the phrase is going to be used again, and then they start to understand even better. So not only is the repetition cemented in their mind, but also they are able to participate mentally because they think they know what words are going to be used next. So it's very effective for rhetoric. So on paragraph 7, 8, and 9, JFK uses to those to begin the paragraphs. So here he uses anaphora at the beginning of big paragraphs, but anaphora can also be used one sentence after another or one phrase after another. This is just a really good one where you can very clearly see it. If you were to go back on your speech and look at 7, 8, and 9, those paragraphs all begin with to those. Parallelism. If you watched and listened to the JFK speech as I was presenting it, then you heard me reference this several times. Parallelism is the arrangement of words, phrases, clauses, or larger structures placed side by side, making them similar in form. Parallelism makes sure that you have the same order of words. Maybe it's subject, verb, object, subject, verb, object. Or maybe it's prepositional phrase, prepositional phrase, prepositional phrase. But whatever it is, it's making sure that your words are in order and everything sounds like it belongs there. So here is an example below. Born in this century, tempered by war, disciplined by a hard and bitter peace, proud of our ancient heritage. You have those phrases over and over again that sound the same. They are parallel because of their sentence structure. So this shows parallelism in that the list consists of all past tense verbs: born, tempered, disciplined, proud. Those are all past tense, therefore it is parallel. Parallelism is not a list of nouns. So for example, I went to the grocery store to buy bread, milk, and eggs. That is not parallelism. That's just a list of things. But if you were being more descriptive, I went to the grocery store to buy milk in the gallon, eggs in the carton, and I don't remember what the last one was that I said, and bread by the loaf. That is parallelism because I have noun, prepositional phrase, milk in the carton, bread by the loaves, milk in the gallon, eggs in the carton, bread by the loaves. So that's a whole phrase, and therefore that is parallel. It's not just noun, noun, noun. I have a list of prepositional phrases that follow too. Effect, like repetition, parallelism adds balance and emphasis to similar, like-minded ideas. It creates the effect of poetry. Everything sounds like it belongs together and balances out really nicely. And then finally, your last one. I also mentioned this several times throughout the speech as I was reading it to you. Antithesis. Antithesis is when you are using parallelism, so phrases that sound the same, but they're contrasting each other. They're not in a list. They're contrasting each other. So it's for the sake of contrasting emphasis. This is called antithesis. It looks like antithesis. So the opposite of your point. You're proving a point, then you state the opposite. Some words that will help you understand when you see antithesis are not and but. So antithesis is often introduced by the word not, and then the two phrases are separated by the word but. They can also be separated by the word yet. You'll see that in JFK's speech a lot. Here's an example from paragraph 2. We observed today not a victory of party, but a celebration of freedom. So he has these two parallel phrases, victory of party and celebration of freedom. And what this does is it contrasts the ideas. If we're talking about his particular ideas, he's saying, listen, we're not here just to celebrate that the Democrats won or that the Republicans won. We're here to celebrate our freedom together. So you have this parallelism that really helps stake his opinion in the ground, that this isn't just about one political party, the Democrats or the Republicans. This is about all of us. So that antithesis really emphasizes his point. Affects antithesis straightens an argument by quickly addressing and refuting, which is proving wrong, the counter-argument, how people would misunderstand or disagree. So an antithesis, it addresses the argument and addresses the counter-argument, both back to back. It is incredibly effective, and he uses it a lot. So you're going to have to find some examples of that. Now, your homework is to use this video lesson, use this slideshow to complete JFK Address Rhetorical Device Hunt. We're missing an end quotation. Organizer given to you. We'll open that up in a minute. You will see that the examples that I just said are also on that document. Your job is to go back through JFK's speech and find one additional example of your own for each device. Quote it. Cite it, say which paragraph it came from, and briefly explain it. One quick sentence explaining how it shows that device. And this is due Thursday at 7 p.m. So let's go ahead and let's look at the assignment together before I go. This is the homework assigned to you. The directions are repeated. Find one example of each rhetorical term listed below from JFK's speech. You're not inventing new ones. You're taking them from the speech, and you can't use the examples that I just said. Now, if you go back to the video where I was reading the speech to you, if I said additional ones, and I did, then you can use those, or you can dig through on your own and find some. So we have the 5 devices that we just talked about on your page. Let's use our handy dandy highlighter. Alliteration, illusion, anaphora. This is straight from the slideshow. Parallelism and antithesis. So we have those 5 listed there. And then my 5 examples that I already went over with you are in my column, Groves's examples. Man holds in his mortal hands. Solemn oath that our forebears prescribed was the illusion. To those, the anaphora, the parallelism in these phrases, and then finally the antithesis and why they are there celebrating. And I included a really quick sentence underneath each one that explained how it showed that device. You're doing the same thing that I did. This will take you a little bit of time because you have to look for them. So over here on the right-hand side, you are looking for an example of alliteration. You are looking for an example of an illusion. Hint, finding one that is biblical will be easier, but you could also find an allusion to the Cold War, and that would help you for historical. You are finding an example of anaphora, an example of parallelism, and an example of antithesis. For antithesis, my best advice is to look for the words not and but, because that will show you where they are contrasting their parallel ideas, or the word yet. You will see that with the word yet too. Now, when you are writing your answers over here, you will need to quote and cite. Please highlight your answers. Mine are highlighted in yellow. Pick a different color, any other color other than yellow, and you're going to put them over here. Quoted, cited, and briefly explained. If you want full credit, that's all you have to do. If I can tell you really tried, even if your answers were a little off, you're okay. But if you didn't follow the directions, if you didn't quote, cite, and briefly explain it, then your grade is going to suffer from that. So you have this assignment. It is short, but you do have to think about it. I wish you good luck. Email me if you have questions. And that's it. Quote it, cite it, briefly explain it, use a different color. This is due Thursday at 7 p.m. All right. Bye, you guys. Good luck.